okay, I'm going to try to sign up for Drift Week 3. And at the time, when I talked to Aaron on the phone, he's like, got to drive your car. No trailering it. Like, the only time your car's on a trailer is if it was literally so badly broken that you were just like, I'm out. I'm calling it.
What's the deal with the real wheels? Do all y'all run real wheels?
Nah.
No? It's just you? You're the only flex boy?
It's not just me. A couple of the boys run real wheels too. Hold on, let me just count real quick. 15, 25. I got like $4,000 into 3-piece wheels. It's a full stock 1J I bought from an importer.
How much did it cost to get the engine and trans?
He wanted $3,200 for the engine with the auto trans.
That's not crazy.
But mind you, 1 year before, my other teammate Derek went to the same importer. So right before $1,500. And then
welcome back to the #1 drift podcast on YouTube. I am Dawson.
I'm Nate.
I'm Behrad.
Let's get into it. So Hyperfest, do not forget we will be there. That's coming up quick, May 19th through the 21st. And of course, they were nice enough to give you guys a 10% off code. So use that. It is on the screen. And don't forget about the 10K giveaway. And then, of course, following on Instagram and subscribing on YouTube. And you will get entered into a chance to win our custom Abel Fab Parts tip.
That we forgot to put out.
Yeah, we forgot to put it out. So it'll be on the screen. And then, of course, 2 free Hyperfest tickets. So shout out to Hyperfest for that. Grab the merch, of course. If you missed out on the Kinda Kinda merch, that sucks. I'm sorry, but we will have some new merch coming out soon. But, of course, circledrift.com, and that's in the description. But this is Behrad, so I'll let him introduce himself.
Well, what's up, guys? I am Behrad. I am from Northern California. I actually just flew into Tennessee today. So I'm not really jet lagged, but I'm going to use it as an excuse because I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep. But anyway. Gotcha, bitch! So, yeah, from NorCal, I drive an S13 hatch with a 1JZ swap in it. I've had the car for like almost 6 years. It's been through a number of different swaps and engines and looks and whatnot. So I've definitely settled on the best one so far, which is the 1J. You can't change my mind. It's the best. It's God's engine. Even though the SR20 is God's engine, the 1J is like Jesus's engine, which is like kind of more than God. I don't know. You know, I'm not religious, but
I'm just here to say I'm glad we finally have somebody that's not LS on the podcast.
I will say I'm not against LSs. We could talk about this, but it really just comes down to the sound, man. And like a 1J, it just has this sound that like
nothing looks as cool as a Jay-Z sound.
It just thank you.
Yes, I run an RB, but
an RB
Jay-Z,
sound,
a 1J has always been my favorite motor.
It just, you know, and it's funny because I actually didn't get the Jay-Z when I had the opportunity to do it for a lot cheaper. Because as you guys know, like Jay-Z tax just went through the roof like through in 2020, and I did my swap during 2020. So like I just bought the most taxed Jay-Z ever. I mean, they're probably more taxed now, but I have 2 teammates that also ran Jay-Z's, and they bought theirs for like half the price I paid for mine. And it was like 2 years before I did my swap. So I'm like, they finally convinced me. They're like, dude, your SR blew up. Don't rebuild another SR. Like, go Jay-Z, you know? So I'm like, all right, I'll go Jay-Z. And then it's like prices are just way higher than what they paid. And I'm like, all right, cool, guys. Like, yeah, I'll just do a $10,000 Jay-Z swap. But totally worth it.
Should have done it sooner.
Yeah, literally. But totally worth it. So, but yeah, anyway, I drift with some of my best friends. We have a team called Drift Team Anti-Heroes, represent. And we have 4 1JZ cars. We just all have VVTi single turbo 1Js, and it's kind of a vibe because it's like all the cars are super well balanced together, and like it's just cool driving with all the same kind of setup. There's 3 S chassis and 1 E36 compact Ti, and he was the first one with the Jay-Z, and he threw it in the compact, and it was just kind of like game changer. People were like, what, Jay-Z and like a Ti, you know? And then he pretty much slowly converted all of us into getting Jay-Z's, and now that we all have stock 1Js, he was like, okay, now I'm going to build for power. So then he goes like radium fuel rail. He set the bar. He's like, here's the bar, guys, 1Js. And then we all get 1Js. He's like, all right, now here's the bar. I'm going to do all this other stuff.
Keep on running, guys.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, bro, I'm still recovering financially from the initial swap. Like I can't upgrade it right now, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, like I've been drifting for like 5 years now. Kind of started in the stance scene, and actually, okay, I'll say this. I started in the Subaru scene, which has its own scene. Like there's car scene,
definitely,
there's drift scene, stance scene, and then there's Subaru scene. So I started in the Subaru scene, had a bug eye, and that kind of introduced me into like working on cars and whatever. And then I bought an S2000 because it was like a dream car of mine for ever since I could remember. Like I just had always wanted S2000. So I bought that. Didn't really even know like rear wheel drive, all wheel drive. Like it didn't like, I didn't buy it because it was rear wheel drive. I just bought it because I was like, they look cool. Like I like S2000s. And then I supercharged it and then I bagged it and like stanced it all out and stuff. And eventually like I started discovering drifting through some friends who were buying S chassis like 2014, 2015. They're buying S chassis. They're going to the track. And I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Like this looks kind of cool. So go out to the track one day, jump in a car with my homie, just a dual cam S13 hatch. And I jump in the passenger seat and like, I still have this video on my phone and we're just on this small skid pad layout over at Thunderhill Raceway. And he just like, and he's still kind of learning too at this point. He just sends it behind our other homie, like tandeming. And I'm just in the car. Like, this is the craziest thing I've ever experienced. Like I'm going to drop everything I'm doing in life and I need to do this. So like within 6 months, I think I bought my S chassis and literally it's been like history ever since then. I sold the S2000. I sold everything else. I like bought a truck, like didn't care. I just needed a truck, the drift car. And like, that's all that mattered. So like, I don't know. You just like, you know, when you get bit by the bug, you know, you just can't shake it. Like no matter how many times I go drifting, no matter how many times I break the car, blowing engine, I blew the first KA in 6 months. And
do you think it's a lot harder to get bit by the bug now since everything's so much more expensive?
Dude, that's a good point. I feel like it's definitely challenging to get into it now because of that, but there's also like exponentially so much more support as we go on.
Technology so much better.
Technology and just like what's out there on the internet and like people discovering that like 350Zs and E36s and E46s are like really good starting cars. Like, you know, so the S chassis tax is still pretty like, I don't know, it's pretty fucked up. You know, because I bought both of mine for pretty cheap. I have a coupe as well. And now it's like I have homies that are wanting to get into it and they're like, yeah, I'm going to buy a 240. And I'm like,
bad idea.
I'm like, dude, I'm like, here's the thing. Here's the reality of you buying a 240. Yeah. Like you could buy one right now, spend way too much. It's going to have a dual cam in it.
And it's going to make 140 horsepower.
Yeah, and like you're going to get bored of it. And then you're going to have to spend minimum $6,000 to do any kind of swap in it, you know? So I really encourage new people to just buy a car that works like a Z or an E chassis. Like they're just too good.
After talking to Scotty, I would say probably a Mustang also.
Oh yeah, Mustangs
I
are good.
said
He
that
did put it
before.
in a good way for the like if you're gonna hit 20K anyways, you might as well have something with windows and AC.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
An S550,
like the newer bodies, right? Because even 5.0s are like Fox bodies are like getting pretty expensive too.
Yeah, you can't find a good running Fox body for less than like $7,000. What? Matt, you can probably find them, but majority of them, you don't know, dude. Our audience is savage. So they'll get mad. They're like, no, I found one for $69.99. I'm like, dude, chill. I was just saying, usually, you know. Yeah. I like Foxes though. I want one.
Yeah,
they grew on me. I wasn't a big fan for a long time, and I would see them drifting, a couple of them here and there at the track, and I'm like, they're kind of lame. But then, like, I don't know, you see them like done well and like a good fitment, good stance. Like sometimes they'll have some kind of body kit or something, and I'm like,
you're like, I can fuck with that. I can fuck with that.
Cool, you know. I just love 90s stuff. So like, you know, all my cars are 90s. Both my trucks are 90s. Like everything. I don't own anything newer than 95. I think so. Like, I just like the 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
even your tow rig?
Yeah.
Really?
OBS Power Stroke 7.3.
Okay, yeah. That'll never break though.
Yeah,
you're good there.
It's definitely, it's taken me to, it's done so much. I've towed 2 cars usually because like I'll usually have a teammate that if we're going to the same event, which we usually do, I'll like usually just tow 2 cars, borrow a 2-car trailer from someone or rent one.
I was going to ask about that because I saw that on your Instagram. I bet that's kind of flexy pulling.
It's kind of cool. Yeah. The best was we pulled up to Drift Week 3 with actually, I want to say it was Drift Week 4 when I towed 2 cars. Now I can't remember, but pulling up with like 2 matching cars on a trailer just is like, it's a subtle flex, but it's like,
fuck you.
I just like, you know, I don't want to flex, but it feels cool.
It does feel cool, I'm sure.
Feel a little bit more pressure from it. If like you got to drive.
I will say, yeah, honestly, because like when the cars are ugly or just like not matching, like people aren't like, you don't get as much video or pictures and stuff. So people don't really like, but as soon as you like have matching cars or you have a livery on your car, all of a sudden, you're just like, you just got a livery. I'm sure you know. And it's all of a sudden you're just
my
like,
car's always had the shark thing on it. So people have always taken pictures of it. But like, people will take pictures with cameras like that,
Yeah,
and
real cameras.
I never post them. I only post the shitty ones.
The potato photos.
Yeah, the fucking ones that have like 3 whole pixels and it's me like drinking a beer while we're driving and stuff. You know? It's hilarious.
No, it's cool.
Those are my favorite.
Well, the hatches, we have a running joke on the podcast that hatches are the worst.
Hatches best.
So why?
You think so?
In fact, there's a hashtag.
I don't know.
Hatches best. I think
it's like easier to work
it's really
on.
your joke. It's not. I
easier
like
to work on or like better for racing because it's pretty solid science that the coupe is structurally stronger.
Yeah. So I've had the hatch for 6 years almost. I've had my coupe for about 5, but it's been a rolling shell for 5 years. Like I've just moved houses and just rolled it along to the next house.
You're a real 240SX.
Oh, I'm a hoarder. Like I won't ever sell it. People always ask me. I bought it for dirt cheap.
That's me. I got like 5 of them. People are like, sell me one. I'm like, fuck no.
No. I know what I got.
Fuck no. It's gonna sit in my yard for 5 years.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
Yeah. I'd rather let it rust.
Right. Let it rot.
But so I haven't really drifted. I haven't drifted my personal coupe. I've drifted friends' coupes and stuff. So I can't really say for sure like which one is better in drift or whatever as a drift car. But I mean, we know that the hatch is heavier, it's got a heavier rear end. The hatch itself is like so heavy with the glass. So like, I'm sure that doesn't necessarily help. But it's like, to me, it's like, dude, the wheelbase is the same. Structure, like you said, is stronger on the coupe, but like I have a cage in the car. It's got like the strut tower on the rear end, the brace across the strut tower. And then it's got like a C-pillar brace where like the back seat belts used to bolt up. So it's like, it's pretty structural. But I don't know. The thing is, when I was getting into S chassis, I was like, hatches are the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Like I didn't even like them at all. Like I was a kid and my cousin had gotten one when he turned 16. He was like 4 or 5 years older than me. And he's like, dude, check this thing out. And I went to his house. And I was like, this thing is so ugly, dude. What is this car? I didn't even know what it was, And then it's funny because when I bought mine, he messaged me. He goes, you remember I used to have one of these when we were teenagers and you thought it was the ugliest thing? I was like, I do remember, dude. I'm sorry. But
apologies.
I actually was looking at coupes originally because the coupes just looked cooler to me. But then it wasn't until I found a hatch that like fit my budget, made sense for what I wanted to do with it. So I bought the hatch and then I still liked coupes more, but it started growing on me because I owned it, and but I will say this, it took years before I like visually really liked the car because like I did so many different body kits, fenders, whatever, and I never really was in love with the look of the car. But then this last like refresh when we did our whole team livery and painted the cars and matched them and all that, and then I was like, all right, this is it. Like this is the vision that I've always had that I never could achieve, and I finally did it. And like now I'm so happy with the car that when I look at my coupe that's all just on jack stands and it's all stock body, whatever, and I'm just like, nah, the hatch is way cooler. But like I feel like once I build the coupe, I might, maybe it'll sway my decision.
So it's just a running joke. So I have both. Yeah. And when I first got into S chassis, I liked hatches, but I only could ever find coupes that were in my budget, right? Like I had a SR coupe. Dude, for those of you out there that are like wondering how much of an S chassis loser I am, I had like I had the power. It had leather. Oh, dude, the fucking roof worked. It was sick. It was sick, dude. It was sick. You could throw beers out of it. It was sick. So I had that, but I always wanted a hatch. Yeah. And now that I've gotten older, it's like now the hatch seems like because I only do like race stuff. It's not like I'm building a street car. Yeah. So for the hatch, for me, it's like wow, it's just like a necessary weight. So so the first thing I do if I was to get a hatch is I'm googling the fiberglass thing. Yeah, the inverted. That's $2,000. I'm like, fuck that. So that's the only reason.
Where's the JP fiberglass one?
Yeah, but I own one. I have one. I'm actually building a hatch out of all the leftover guts from my current car.
Really? Yeah, I didn't know you had a hatch.
That's the first time I think that might be the first time.
I feel like I would have known if you'd said you had a hatch. Yeah.
I was going to build the rally car out of it, but I ended up having I had that other coupe. And the other coupe, I went over and looked at it, and it's fucking rough as a night in jail. So I maybe change that one into the rally car and leave the hatch as like a bash car.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I like
derby car.
Also.
Dude, that's funny. Actually, my teammate Squints, he big E36 guy. All he owns is like different types of E36s, and he had his old compact, his TI, and it kind of took a gnarly hit last summer and like tweaked the diff mounts and the subframe and everything. So he's like, okay, I'm just gonna like chassis swap, So he gets another TI, throws everything in it. Then he's got this old TI, and it's still a working car. It's just like kind of tweaked, Yeah. And so he's like, I'm gonna do a rally build with it. We're like, no way.
Yeah.
Dude, he bought mud tires, 28-inch mud tires.
Yeah.
I gotta show you guys a picture of it. It is insane. It doesn't have a drivetrain in it yet, but we're going to start making some YouTube videos about it, but it would just be so cool to see.
Dude,
it looks
I used to work with a dude that had an off-road Z.
Really?
Z, yeah.
No way.
Dude,
lifted and
everything.
Oh,
yeah. Lifted. Some fat meaty
You can
tires
buy Ford Raptor shocks. They sell them for cheap because one of the first things people do is they put Bilsteins on it.
Yeah.
So they take these Raptor shocks. This is going to make the price go up, but dude, you can get on eBay and you can buy a set of 4 for $400 or $500.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even know this. The way that my fabricator guy says, you just cut a hole and put it where you want the car to ride, and then you weld a hoop and then attach it there that way. He's like, dude, if you did that, you'd have 16 inches of travel. And I was dude, that's loading dock shit. Yeah. We could fucking send it off. It'd be awesome, dude. It'd be
that's
cool.
all I want to do.
Yeah, and all the 240 people would cry, how dare you? It'd be awesome. I love that. I love that. That's awesome.
Speaking of fabrication, did you do your tube front?
So I didn't. I had a buddy do it a few years ago after the front end had taken. Let me preface this real quick. Don't tube the front of your car if you crash it one time. Pull it out.
Get 2 or 3 good ones.
Yeah. I waited till I had really messed it up, and then I was like, all right, time to cut it off. So then my homie came over and he did it for me. And at the time though, when we built it, I was still running SR, or I was KA first, and then I blew the KA, put another K in it, had that for a couple of years. I drifted a stock KA for 2.5 years, and I just put a 4.6 diff in it, solid drive shaft, made it as fast as it could possibly be with a bone stock dual cam. And then eventually I was like, okay, now I'm ready for more power, so bought the SR. And then, so when he did the tube front, he made it, kind of based around a 4-cylinder engine, right? And then I decided to go JZ. So I ended up having to modify it, kind of extend it further forward and whatnot. And I'm like you, I can weld and I can glue 2 pieces of metal together. It's not going to look super pretty, It's not going to look. I've seen a grinder for, Yeah, exactly. But so I would weld some of that stuff on my own. But I have so many friends, and even one of my teammates, he has a whole fab thing called Humble Fab. So I got so many fabricator friends that it's I don't have to learn how to do real fab. I can just do my own little stuff in the garage, and usually I can have friends help me do bends and stuff. Yeah, because I don't have a tube bender. I'm not that smart, so I don't even think I can calculate how to bend tube properly.
See, that's my same problem. My problem is that I'll be like, I can fucking do that. So then I'll do it, and then I'll have one of my fabricator friends come over, and he's like, why wouldn't you just do it like this? And you're like, dumbass.
So much more sense.
Gotcha, bitch. I hate that. I made a fucking meme about that today. It makes me so mad. They'll come over and be like, why don't you just run it like this? And I was like, shut up, Travis.
I hate you.
Shut up, man.
That's funny.
Well, it's very clean. That's why I wanted to comment
It looks very clean.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's super simple, but it just leaves a lot of... One thing that I do like about it a lot is you could pop the hood and you can see all your front suspension because I don't have tubs. So
me either.
Dude, it's so nice. You pop the hood and you go, tie rods are good. Control arm looks good. Nothing's bent. You hit get into a little wreck. You don't even have to jack the car up.
You just
I just look straight down. I'm like, oh, everything looks good. So that's a huge benefit. But then the thing that sucks about not having tubs with the tube front is I spent hours, days, finger crippling, wet sanding my engine bay, trying to do a really nice engine bay paint job. My other teammate, Derek, he's a professional painter. So he comes over to spray it,
He's like, you better get that shit clean.
Yeah. So he was like, prep it well, So I'm sitting there wet sanding 400 for till 2 a.m. And he's like, not that clean, dude. It's an engine bay, So he comes over, he shoots it all. It looks fucking beautiful, dude. And then the first drift event, because there's no tubs, you're just kicking rocks and shit into the engine bay the whole time from the front wheels. And it just destroyed all the paint. And I was like, well, that was a huge waste of time. But it still looks cool,
So mine is coming apart, I think, tomorrow for some of it. I'm going to redo my turbo kit.
Oh, nice.
If you knew how my turbo kit was set up and how we rushed it, dude, it was so rushed, bro. Dude. So it's stock truck manifolds, and we just cut the little ear off and welded a V-band.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the new setup that we're doing. The old setup is just the stock iron stuff, and I had a 90, and I needed the 90 to come down and go up, but I couldn't get it to angle the right way, and we were in such a time crunch that I literally just jammed it in there and welded it up.
No way.
So that's why the car sounds like all turbos, because it's fucking doesn't flow well at all.
Yeah.
So I'm redoing my turbo kit tomorrow on the old engine, and then the next weekend I'm going to pull the old motor out and put the new engine down in
With
there
the
and
new
put it back
setup.
together. Yeah, but I'm going to design the turbo kit with the old setup in there.
Nice.
Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, I know why. Because when I pull the engine out, I'm going to paint the engine bay.
Nice.
But I'm not going to do it like that. I'm just going to like get like one of those turbo cans. I'm going to sand it down. Like,
dude, those turbo cans are the shit.
Yeah, but I was scared of that.
Yeah.
But I had never met anybody that had said the same thing. And then I was like, if I'm going to be like, my wheel's going to be cocked because I'm putting FDF on it. So if the wheel's going to be cocked, throwing rocks up in the fucking hood and shit, I'm like, what's the point of like, really painting this thing
Really
all
nice.
up? And I was like, nah, I'll just hit it with some paint and then, clear it.
And then it's like, you'll
Bring another can with you.
you just touch it at the track.
What are you doing? Nothing. Get away from my car.
Yeah. I've heard the Steal It stuff is the jam, though. I've never used it.
Steal It?
Steal It? You ever heard of that? Jimmy Oakes is like big on it. He's always like
I have heard him
painting
talk
every
about that.
cages,
That sounds
tube
familiar.
fronts, like
Oh,
everything.
yes.
It's like a can.
Yeah, for welding.
But it's like got the Guinness nitrogen tab thing in it. You shake it up and hit it. Yeah.
But it's like you could paint it over. It seems like you don't have to do much prep. You could just freaking spray it over anything and it like just works.
Oh, it's kind of like Bulldog, basically, like just adhesive promoter.
Yeah, but it's like paint in the can. It's like a steel colored paint in a rattle can, but like
Bulldog's
doesn't
just clear.
require-
It's like really tacky.
Oh,
clear.
yeah.
You spray it on like emblems and stuff to make
okay.
that shit stick better because even
yeah.
sanding doesn't help that. But
Makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like it's
So I have a question. So what does a Jay-Z swap cost? Run through, not, you don't have, like, I don't know if you have a built rotating assembly, like none of that. Just a runner.
It's a full stock 1J. Like I bought from an importer 1JZ VVTi single turbo, came out of it's actually a JZS 171. It came out of a Crown.
Okay.
And it was auto trans. I bought it with like it has a 100,000 kilometer sticker on it. So like, I don't know if you guys knew, but like, I guess in Japan, after a certain amount of kilometers, like it's super expensive to keep re-registering that car. So then that's why they just pull the engines and just part the cars out, sell them or whatever, right?
Emissions and shit.
Yeah, like emission stuff. So the engine's like relatively, lower mileage probably, and it came with an automatic trans. Like it was in a taxi in Japan.
Yeah, it wasn't,
Yeah, so
it was serviced. It wasn't beat on.
exactly. So I was like, and then you guys know JDM magic. You can't split the engine. Don't let it out. So I was like, I'm not touching this thing. Like I'm taking it fully stock. And then the only things I did, which I made some videos on, were like simplifying it a little bit. So I deleted some of like the fuel dampeners and like, what else did I do? Yeah, pretty much just like cleaned up the intake side and just pulled all like random fuel stuff off that like you don't really need, because I was running an aftermarket pressure regulator.
How much did it cost to get the engine and trans imported?
So the engine I bought from a local importer, and he wanted $3,200 for the engine with the auto trans.
That's not crazy.
So $3,200, but mind you, 1 year before, my other teammate Derek went to the same importer. So right before $1,500, and then not only was it $1,500, it came with like a broken TPS. It was missing the MAF. It was missing the intake elbow. And the guy at the importer was like, oh, I'll just give you like a couple $100 off type of thing. So then he ended up getting it for like $1,200 or something.
Scratch and dent.
Yeah. And so and then my other teammate that did it a year or two before that, he got his for like $1,100 or something. So for me, like seeing that price tag of 32,
you got.
Do you know what they cost now? If you were to import them now,
I think there's like over 4.
Damn.
Yeah. Like and
I mean, that's not a drastic change, really.
I mean, I don't know. If he's talking
Jay-Z?
about 3 years ago, somebody got one for $1,000 or $1,100.
Well, I mean, that's true.
And before my time of even knowing what drifting is, like the friends that I have now that have been in it a while, they're like, oh, dude, when I got into this in 2010, people were throwing Jay-Z's away for $500. You know what I mean? Like, no one even knew. But at the same time, it's like I could see why, because 20 or 15 years ago, like there wasn't mount kits and all this like stuff that helps you know how to do the swap, like my swap
was make everything.
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. Like, so I bought Drift HQ, like I bought probably most of my stuff from Drift HQ for it, which was like PMC adapter plate, PMC clutch with a sash, like clutch setup and whatever. And then like the shifters from Drift HQ, some chase based stuff for like the fueling system. So, but pretty much like engine was $3,000. And then all the swap kit stuff probably cost me like another $3,000 to $4,000. And then it's like the stuff that you don't think about. Like once you're kind of getting it together, you're like, oh, I need fuel lines and I need this.
I call those Nicky Neckies.
Yeah, dude. And that stuff added up. So like all said and done, I probably spent to get the car like running on a stock ECU, stock turbo. Like I did the wiring with a friend of mine with the stock ECU. We just like spliced it all together with my switch panel that I had. And like, I don't even have a fancy switch panel. It was like just literally my fuel pump's on a switch, my battery's on a switch, and my ignition's on a switch. Like that's it. You know, it's not like an arc panel or anything fancy. And we just spliced all the right wires in and also wired up an OBD2 that I cut off of a Toyota Camry so that I could like actually check engine codes and stuff on it. And
is that still on there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
That's very cool.
And then
I don't have that.
Yeah. And pretty much like all said and done is probably like $8,000, got the car running. And then just like little odds and ends after that. Like you don't think about, oh, I got to get an exhaust done. Or I got to get intercooler piping and stuff. And you know, just that type of stuff. But
$100 you to death.
Yeah. And it's got a BMW ZF5 trans out of an M3. And then so with that, like then I did, I spent another few $100. Like this was stuff that I didn't even plan on doing. But like once you're kind of doing the swap and you start reading more stuff and you're like, oh, BMW ZF Transes, they're pretty good. But oh, wait, if the detents are bad and the springs are old, then your shifter is going to lean and you're going to miss fifth or whatever. So, you know, and I was like, all right, well, while the trans is out, I might as well do this. Spent like $100 on the,
you know?
So like bought the tool to do it, watched an FCP Euro video of how to do it, sat 10 hours in my garage, hating myself, didn't even film it because it was a terrible job. If you have to change the detents on your ZF, just don't. Because it sucks. or hit me up and I'll charge you an enormous amount of money because it sucks. But I think by the end of it, I probably had like almost 10 into it. The trouble with it though is like, I don't know. I look at like an LS. You blow your LS, you have a lot of options of blocks and heads you could go get, right? Like you blow a JZ
in my garage.
In your garage, right? You blow a JZ, like you don't have a lot of options.
Honestly,
you know?
and dude, so a lot of people don't know this. I love JZs. They sound so cool. Yeah. I have like a running joke where everyone's like, Supers are cool looking. I was like, yeah, nothing looks as good as the Super sounds. You know, like it's just true. Like
for sure.
JZ's just, dude, you know, I could go on for days. JZ sound awesome.
Yeah.
The reason I didn't go with a JZ is one, the very first time that I looked into doing a swap on my car, because it was originally going to be a street car, I went to Titan Motorsports.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, I couldn't find a single, not a one item that wasn't at least $100. And I was like, that's impossible, dude. You know, that's impossible. So I was like, damn, I bet they're really expensive. So then I went and looked into swap kits. Swap kits were really expensive. Then I looked into what trans, and I don't know if you know this, but I fucking hate BMWs. So I was like, I'm not running a fucking get rag. So I was like, all right, LS. We'll just do an LS. And then I looked into that, and I got it all done with no shit in my garage for about $7,500. Now, this was 2 or 3 years ago. It's probably gone up by now. Yeah. But the thing is that with LS engines is that the sooner you jump in, the cheaper your next swap will be. I have enough shit where now I can just build a whole other car. I've got oil pans and fucking cut up subframes and all kinds of shit, you know?
Like, the thing about LS too is like, you blow something, you can literally walk into an AutoZone and walk out with a head. It's like, you know, but like, dude, I can't even walk into an AutoZone and find like, I don't know, injectors, you know, like they don't have anything that runs a 1J injector in America, you know? So it's just like, that's the trade-off for going like JDM. And like, it's a tough trade-off for sure, because like, I would love I'm a big, like, I just want seat time, you know? Like I did the JZ because it had proven, watching my two teammates like beat the crap out of theirs for a couple of years. And like, it was proven. So I was like, and not the LSs aren't proven, but you know, I kind of just, I don't know. I just really wanted the sound.
You went with what you knew from your surroundings.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like 2 of my teammates had done the swap, so I knew what I needed, you know? I didn't have to like do all the legwork. So I was just kind of like, okay, I know what you did for this. I know what you did for this. And like pieced mine together.
It's like the complete opposite of the Cosmic thing. Yeah. It's like that's a team of LSs and a team of JZ. So like, you just kind of get adopted.
And the coolest thing is if you have a group chat and then you're like, oh, fuck, I don't even know whatever broken JDM stuff is. And I broke this, and one of them's like, I think I got one of those.
Exactly.
Dude, I'm not even kidding. I've swapped coilovers for intakes and fucking TPS sensors and all kinds of shit. You know, like, but we always show up. We're always there. You know, so that's the reason that we went with that setup.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Like, if you have, like you said, if you're surrounded by it, it just makes more sense because it's going to be easier to do your build. It's going to be easier to maintain your build. Like when you break stuff at random, like, I mean, dude, you think about like 4 of us show up to a drift event. We all have bins of spare parts and they're all interchangeable between all 4 engines. It's like,
same with
you
us.
Can't get that lucky. Like, you know, if you're just, so it's kind of nice. Like our homie, one of our other teammates, the last one to get his JZ, we traded his S14 with a VH45 swap in it, like out of an Infinity Q45.
Yeah.
Really?
So it's a 4.5 liter V8. That thing, like my JZ's like sub 300 horsepower. Stock JZ makes like 280 tops. Like I have the Future Fab downpipe.
Yeah.
Which like, I don't know if you guys know, but if you look those up, they're discontinued and they have them on their website marked at $30,000.
Holy shit.
And I was like, what? And then they were like, oh, they're discontinuing them. But instead of pulling it off the website, they just put the price like outrageous.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, hey, my downpipe's worth $30,000, bro.
Some billionaire comes in there and like buys 5 of them.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now?
But like that downpipe's supposed to add like roughly 20 to 26 horsepower, wheel horsepower when you throw it on. Because the stock downpipe for the JZ is like pretty constricting.
They're separated, right?
Yeah, it's like an elbow and then like a downpipe. But this is like all one piece, you know?
I remember I had an SR. We changed that piece on mine and it made a bunch of difference. I was like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You know? I didn't even turn it up.
Yeah.
Next day, I'm like drilling holes in my wastegate line. I was like, what else am I doing?
Just turn this up a little bit.
Well, speaking of the team, what made y'all kind of go the like final bout style route? Because I love it, but I know you're not.
I like it. I like their cars.
Well, no, I know that. I'm just saying that probably would never be your approach
to like get your car to be in final bout.
Yeah,
like
I
don't know. Honestly,
I'm just like a party.
Yeah.
I just like to party. I just like to go out and spin wheels and fucking hang out with my buddies.
I don't know, dude. I feel like for me, coming from the stance scene, like I know you've said it before, like rolling car show thing, like that was a huge part of drifting for me, was that stylish cars doing motorsports. Because like I would go to car shows and stuff when I was in the stance game or whatever. And like, you just stand around for 8 hours, like looking at other people's cars and people just looking at your car and stuff. And then at some point I was just like, man, like, I want to do something with the car, you know?
Yeah.
I love how it looks, but like, I just want to do something with it. So then, I don't know, like the 240, like I said, it took the first 4 years, it was always really ugly. Multiple colors. Like I painted it a couple times, but anytime something breaks, you put on another fender, you paint it black. Like I painted the whole car purple, and then I was like, broke a fender, busted a door, black door, black fender, black trunk.
Black, just patch it up.
Just black.
He fucking bashed his car up and Casey hooked a come along to it and just fucking pulled it out. It's like,
yeah,
that's
like,
hilarious.
Ready to go.
Don't you have a fender for it?
Yeah, I've got 2 new fenders sitting in the other room. Yeah.
Just running the old ones. So I don't know. It was kind of like, I just liked the really stylish look of drift cars, but don't get me wrong, I'm all about driving as hard as you fucking can. Like, I don't care about crashing my car. I've crashed it many times. Every time we drive, we inevitably crash with each other. But it's like, that's what happens when you want to drive hard and you want to drive close and like, and so like, it was kind of one of those things where we just me and my homies that decided to make the team. Really what it was is we went to this, there's an event every June in Oregon, in Medford. And it's called Bash to the Future. And it's like just their biggest event at this go-kart track. Yeah. And so the first year that I was going to that, first of all, changed my life. If you've only driven skid pads, go drive a kart track. Because like skid pads are really good.
Definitely.
But like you drive a track where you have a layout and a road that you have to follow, it really teaches you about line. And it teaches you the right line versus the wrong line. Whereas like skid pads can be hard to determine that because you're looking at just cones or lines on the ground, or like there's so much empty space you kind of don't know.
A lot of room for error.
Exactly. Yeah. But when you're on a go-kart track or a road course or whatever,
don't miss.
Yeah. If you miss, you're going off, or like,
especially somewhere like Mid Pond, you go off.
Yeah.
God, so you're spending a whole day cleaning your car.
Trying to get
after
out.
that.
I wanted to go to Mid Pond really bad, and then I went and hung out with Eric Moen before he came on the podcast. And dude, he said that he did most of the day, and then when I went there, he had taken the car all the way apart to wash it. Yeah, he's like that. Like he's like the type he'll take the subframe down to wash. You know, he's like,
oh my god.
You know, I don't know if the subframe was out, but it was all the way apart. And so I was like there, and I was looking. I got up underneath the car, and a big clump of dirt hit me in the head, and I was like, I don't know if I need to go there. I can drive that on a Seto, you know?
Dang.
No,
that's
sorry, I
worth
cut
it.
you off. I just
no, you're good. That's like
great.
how Medford is. Like, you go off, and if it's a rainy weekend, because it's Oregon, so it definitely gets some rain. If it's a rainy weekend, you're getting mud in places you didn't know mud could go in your car. You know what I mean? Like you get mud. I get mud inside my car. Just it's a race car, no carpet. It's got a cage. So there's like holes in the firewall or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll have mud like at my feet, and I'm just like, I don't even know where that came from, dude. Like I'm in there with a hose, just hosing the inside of the car out, like, But
That's awesome.
so we went to this event, and we like my friends had been going for a couple years, but this one year when we went, I want to say it was like 2018 or 2019. They do team tandem competition, and so we had actually all painted our cars the same color. It was like a green, and it was mostly literally started because we were like, all four of us wanted to refresh our cars, and we're just friends. We didn't even think about a team. We were just like, you guys want to save some money and paint our cars the same color because we could just share a gallon of paint for 2 cars, So we literally just bought 2 gallons of this green.
Well, it did.
And then
that's what me and Nick did, or Chris did.
It's like, it made sense. We're all broke. We're like, okay, we could save money, paint them all the same color. We paint them all. We go to this event, and then they do team tandem comp. So we're like, well, let's sign up for the team tandem comp, And we sign up, and we didn't have a team name or anything. And so we just randomly decided, last second, we just had to get a name on the board. And we're like, Drift Team Anti-Heroes. Boom. We just put it down, and it just stuck. And then so that was kind of it. We had these green cars. We did that event. We did terrible. We didn't even qualify. I'm pretty sure they had me leading because I had a KA car, and the rest of them had faster cars. So they were like, you lead, And then I was just only a year into drifting, and I just sucked. And so it was a bad, whole scenario was bad. And then the next year, is when we were like, okay, let's make the cars nice and really redo them, do the livery and all that. And that kind of led to just I don't know, people were just excited about the cars looking a certain way, having the matching thing going on. And so that just pushed us to be like, you know what, we could be pretty influential. And we all are passionate about drifting in that we just want to drive. We just want to have fun with each other, with other people, whatever. It's all about the driving at the end of the day. And people would come up to us and just ask questions about the cars, ask us about just whatever, and it was kind of this cool thing.
You're already doing
where,
it, might as well.
Yeah. So it was kind of this cool thing where we were sharing our version of drifting with people and just how passionate we are about it. And it kind of just stuck with us because we're like, dude, people like it,
People
and
like that stuff. People like camaraderie.
Exactly. And so then we started getting invited to certain events, and we went and did a exhibition event at this drag race. It was a NHRA drag race at Redding's drag strip in NorCal. And they invited us out to do basically sideshows during in a designated area. But they were like, hey, when a drag car blows up, or if there's wait times between heats or whatever, you guys come out, put on a show for the crowd. And we're like, hell yeah. So we just
seriously, no rules?
No rules, dude. Just a 200 square foot box, pretty small for 4 cars, 3 cars. Yeah. And I ate the wall pretty good one time. And, but it was just cool having the crowd be so pumped. And dude, I'm getting off track, just not lifting off limiter. My car's just shooting the biggest flames. And I just don't even care, dude. I'm just the crowd loves it, man. I'm a people pleaser. It was just cool. So that vibe and just having people just be so pumped about it, just inspires me to want
That's the moment.
That's it, dude.
I search for in drifting. That's what it's for.
I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's a good feeling. You just know that people like your car and they like what you're doing, and it inspires them to want to get into it too, and people hit us up all the time, oh dude, how can I get into this? Or I want to ride in the car, or whatever. And it's that's the first bug. That's the bite that can get people into it. And for me, it's I love drifting so much. I want to spread drifting. I don't want it to die. I don't want it to go away. And we're at a pinnacle moment where it's
we're working on it.
You would be surprised, dude. A lot of the big guys don't. They don't want more people. They want less people.
It's selfish.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's fucking childish and gatekeepy and fucking
exactly.
A lot of them will say it on media.
We don't want more people.
Want more. No, they'll say that they want more, but their actions
but behind closed doors.
Show it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's if I want to continue drifting, then it has to continue growing. You know, it can't continue if it's going downhill. So only way to keep it going is to one, what you guys are doing, which is helping new people understand that they can get into it for a lot less than they think, or simpler ways to do it or whatever.
You talk to these pros and they're like, oh, you better have 20 grand. You don't need $20,000 to get into drifting.
I'm like, dude, I bought my sorry, I'm going to time this myself a little bit.
You're going to carbon date yourself now.
6 years ago, I bought it for $3,000 or $2,500 or whatever, but it was a drift ready,
ready to rock and roll.
But it was had bushings done. It had a hydro in it, which I didn't really need at the time. But
basics,
it had the basics. It could drift. I took it to an event the next week. I bought the car, drove it home, took it to an event the next week, which is exactly what I bought it for. I was like, I want to just get in a car and go drift it, And people are finding the wrong routes where they're like, I'm going to buy a stock E46, strip it to nothing, do this insane build that takes me years. And by the time I'm done, I'm not even going to drive the car because I'm broke or I don't even care about drifting anymore. And it's like, I'm trying to avoid having people do that. I want them to get into it with seat time cars and basic cars that like just get them out there driving.
That's where the question at the end of the podcast is an organic question. Like we obviously wanted to grow drifting. That's why we started. But the end is like we had gone on some big,
I think a good example of that is Colette, dude, because she spent like 4 or 5 years building all these insane rotary cars for companies, and then as soon as she met Adam, she had a Z, and she was ripping,
dude. And she got good.
All she needed was the seat time.
Exactly. Yeah.
People get too wrapped up in the build,
dude. Which is like, I don't, the build is fun, like, and I learned so much, dude. I didn't know how to turn a wrench before I bought the 240. Like I supercharged my S2000 on my own with like, a buddy or something. And that was already pretty overwhelming, but like buying the 240 literally made me a mechanic,
Yeah.
Like,
like that. Yeah. Mechanic, hand me adjustable hammer.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, if you're getting into cars, I feel like drifting is one of the best because it teaches you more than just like, it teaches you so much because you have to learn, unless you got money to pay people to work on your car, you got to learn how to work on your car.
You got to know what you're doing.
So it just comes with the territory.
All right. I got one. All right. What's the deal with the real wheels? Do all y'all run real wheels?
Nah.
No, it's just you. You're the only flex boy.
It's not just me. A couple of the boys run real wheels too, but it's for me. I'm like a budget guy still, so like I only bought these wheels because I got really good deals on them. So like I have, but dude, hold on, let me just count real quick. 15, 25. I got like $4,000 into 3-piece wheels, which sounds like a lot, but it's like,
dude, that's not a lot at all. How many? How many?
I got a full set of SSR Balkan. I have all SSRs. Full set of SSR Balkans, and then a pair of SSR Gartmeyers, and then a pair of Minervas. So I have 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for
8 wheels, $4,000 in,
and they were all built specs. Like I didn't have to rebuild any of them. Well, okay, the Gartmeyers actually I had built. They were my first set of 3-piece wheels. And shout out JP Wheel Supplies. Check him out. He builds wheels, and he built my first set. The most beautiful like pair of wheels I've ever seen. He like dude, he sent me pictures of the faces from Japan because he buys them up, from auction, and he'll refinish them and he'll build them and whatever. He's just like a solo little 3-piece wheel company, and based out of Texas. And he sends me the faces, and they're like hammered. The lips and barrels hammered, but like it was like a couple $100 for the faces or whatever. So he's like, dude, I can refinish them for you. I'll like put new lips and barrels, blah blah. So like it still came out to over $1,000 for a pair, but they were like brand new wheels basically, and then sure enough I already fucking hit them on other cars or whatever, so it's kind of, it hurts. I bent my Minervas, like within the first I put them on right before Drift Week 4, and I bent them like 6 months later.
But but your take on wheels is not like if you run rep wheels, you're opposed.
What's your argument for people that are like, why the fuck would you even run those?
So here's the thing. I ran rep wheels for forever because they're cheap. They still do the job. They're round, right? They spin. So for me, it was like, I'm going to put whatever wheels I can kind of afford and whatever fits good. Like, so I had a pair of Workmeister reps, but they were like 18, 10 plus 12, like perfect specs for running big, wheels in the back or whatever. And they're like $200. I'm like, I'm not going to pass up a pair of great specs that I can fit 265s on. They were black, but I put a gold vinyl strip on the spoke, so it popped a little bit.
Ooh, gold. I never thought about that.
Yeah. And then,
you say whack?
I'm a half price hot boy.
So yeah, I don't have anything against rep wheels. Like I still own some rep wheels, but I feel like I'm at a point now though where I've had too many real wheels and the car's
too far gone.
Yeah, so I can't really put the car back on reps, but I have nothing against them. Like I don't care if someone's on rep wheels, It's just now that I've already had a few sets of real wheels or like 3-piece wheels especially, like I don't know, I'm still in that phase. I don't want to really.
Do you notice a performance advantage at all?
Disadvantage.
100%. Oh, they're heavy as fuck.
They're heavy as hell, dude. My rears are like 18 by 11.
Taylor Ray is specified on that, like pretty in depth when he got those heritage wheels.
Yeah.
He's got a whole video talking about how shitty it was for the steering.
I don't know. Like I said, if you run rep wheels, there's no hate. Like just run whatever wheels are going to get you on track. Like that's what it really comes down to is like, if you're going to get seat time, that's what's important, But yeah, it's like on my 5th year of rebuilding this car and doing all this other shit to it. And like, being in drifting, I finally bought a pair of real wheels and they're 3-piece because it's like I never got to enjoy that era of like having
Still
3-piece
working on
wheels.
it.
Dude, like, and that's the thing, like until you do it, like it's just gonna bug you that you don't have it yet, you know? And it was kind of like that for me. I just wanted 3-piece wheels on the car, you know? They don't perform as good, but it's like, dude, I'll go back and I'm watching like animal style videos from like, you know, 10 years ago or whatever. And like
when I first got into drifting, that's what I would just leave on YouTube is animal style videos and final bout videos, just the cinematic ones.
Yeah,
I used to watch a lot of option.
Dude.
Yeah. And like my whole team, like most of our group of friends from NorCal, like we all kind of started with watching animal style because they're from NorCal. So like it was just like there were like hometown heroes for us. Where like these guys shred, they have style, the cars are sick. Like there's no reason not to look up to those guys, you know. And you watch those videos, like the parking lot video, of, you know, of Julian and Ryan, and it's like they're on. I mean, like I think at some point they were running like 19s, you know, 3-piece, and they're just tucked. Like my car's fitment is not. I have functional fitment with 3-piece wheels. I got wheel gap in the front. I'm not tucking fucking rim in the back. Like it's very functional, but like they were at a level where I was like, dude. I know the car drives like shit like that, but it looks hot, like you know, and that like I was into that, like it just didn't.
It's
yeah, dude. But it's like I don't know, it's just a vibe. I just like good vibes of drifting. I like good looking cars. I like the style. I hate watching someone go down a run up and just fucking pull their e-brake and turn their wheel, and I'm like, dude, like have some style, like. You gotta drive with style.
You do that. That's how you enter.
I've also seen them throw feints.
You do it on the reverse layout too.
Oh yeah, you talking about not manjiing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
not a
you
manji,
do
but
the
a feint.
You do the feint flick and then you enter.
Yeah, you have to feint. It adds style and it adds speed.
At Beach Bend, as soon as I'm off the line, I flick it to the left like I'm going to the center.
Yeah,
and I'll manji that whole straight until I hit the sweeper and then go around.
See, I'm not a big manji the straight either because you don't build
only
speed.
one.
It's all
you're scrubbing. You're scrubbing.
So okay, I'm gonna get some hate for this probably, but okay, if you go down the straightaway hauling ass because your car hauls ass, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then you just yank the e-brake, you're scrubbing a shit ton of speed, right? Like, there's no faster way to slow the car down than angle and e-brake, right? So it's like you're going in really fast, but then you're slowing down a lot when you get to the corner. When you manji all the way to the sweeper. Manjis, it's not like manjis are like easy. Like it's hard to keep a manji like consistent down a straightaway. So it's like I'm not saying it's like unskillful to manji the straight, but you're not building speed down the straight. You're just staying in a consistent manji down the straight, and then you get to the sweeper and you hit the sweeper.
And then you add angle.
Mine was just one extra flick. It's not like I'm actually manjing.
Yeah, if you're just like one flick back and you're entering, like that's the proper way.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, but it's also like I got into drifting watching my friends who got into drifting watching animal style and Japanese drifting and Naoki and like all this stuff. So it's like you're a product of your environment, you know?
Yeah.
And so like
and like I watched some of that stuff, but the reason like what he's talking about where I'll pull the brake is because like and like I'm not talking smack, all right? All right, fuck it, I am talking a little smack, all right? Listen, you could leave in second, and by the time you got to fourth, you might be going 60. Okay, I can like roll on in first, and by the time I hit third, I'm running 90. So like I'll fucking crack the e-brake, but that's just to upset the car.
Yeah.
So I need to scrub off speed because we're at fucking Clarksville. You know, like, we're not at.
You're running out of space.
Yeah,
Clarksville.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like when you come down the hill, the reason that I do it down the hill is because I went to, I think it was like my second event ever. And there was a kid that tried to do that. He tried to fucking, I call it hot boy entering. I know it's called feint or whatever, but he tried to fucking really get real saucy with it. And he drove from Memphis. Damn. He drove from Memphis, bro. That boy was bout it and he crashed it. So now I'm like, it's not necessary. And then the other part of that probably is that most of the time I'm on some sort of a refresh. Every time I take the car out, I'm like, damn, it did this, and I need to fix that.
Yeah, I'm like not testing kind of.
Yeah, you know, it's always shakedown shit, you know. So like the last event, I drove like probably 6 laps, and I was like, all right, fuck it. If it's gonna blow up, it's gonna blow up. So, I said it.
Who needs you anymore?
Turned the fuel pump up, turned the boost up, and I was like, all right, if it's gonna blow up, it's gonna do it. So
like I got 6 more of these at home.
3. But
I don't know. I guess for me, it's like I just learned by driving behind people. You know, like you learned a line by kind of just following the people that are doing it, you know, right, or the way that you want to do it. And so I just like product of environment just started doing feints, you know, and it was kind of like, I don't know. It's just like, it's fun. And it's like, it's a stylish way to enter or whatever. And like, I like driving with angle. I like driving with, just, I don't know, flash. Like it's just part of like that whole like, car show. Like,
I have one more.
You want to take a break real quick?
I do want to take a break. I'm about to piss, but if I don't ask this question, I'm going to forget. Okay. So like all the fucking savages that used to jump at a bisu? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you like that style of driving? Because that's not style driving. That's like fucking send it style.
Yeah.
Do you like that or the style? I know that you like both, but if you had to like go watch a video, which one would you rather watch? Probably style.
If it's style, but they're still banging doors, then it's that, But if it's like okay, I will say Final Bout, cool as hell. Like I would love to drive Final Bout one day. We've never driven it, but like you will watch Final Bout videos and you see dudes with really fucking awesome, cool, clean cars, and they're driving stylish, but like they only do solo laps because they're not trying to get close to another car and ruin their car, which I get, I respect it, whatever. But if I had to pick, it's stylish cars, stylish driving, and fucking running into your friends. Like, you know, like just touch your friends' cars with your car. Like, get close. Like, don't be afraid to fuck up the car, and like, it's like it inevitably happens, dude. You're gonna, even if you're not trying to be stylish, someone's gonna fuck up, you're gonna go off, like something's gonna break. It's like, if I'm gonna break it, I'm gonna do it looking good, like I'm just gonna,
that's all I was gonna ask, is because I feel like that's more like my thing. Like I would love, that's why every time I come down the hill, I don't go to the outside, I go to the inside so I can hit that bump. Because it feels a little, dude, it's fucking, it feels savage, bro. It feels savage. Like it's like this fucking machine that's supposed to do the thing, and then I'm just like, whoa, bam! It fucking slams the whole car. The passenger's like, what the fuck, Dude, I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, like there's the track that we drive in Medford. They added a Nico drop on the bottom of like one of the corners, dude, and like, you huck it into this corner and you're just like, you're backwards, and then you dip a wheel in and you just feel the front lift up as you're like hitting the rest of it. And it's just such a cool feeling of having like, and you'll see pictures of the car.
Do you still have control?
Can't see where you're going. You're just looking up.
You have control, but you can definitely tell that it's
light in the front.
Yeah. Like the wheel will pick up, and it's concrete. So you're going from asphalt to concrete. So you
so you get grip. Probably.
You get, or is it less grip? It's kind of less grip. Well, I don't know. To me, it feels like less grip because it feels like the wheels start spinning faster. But I've heard people say concrete's grippier, so I'm not really
I've always thought concrete was less grippier.
It feels less grippy.
Thought the opposite.
And like you can hear the tires screeching kind of. So it's like, it's kind of cool because you'll throw it into the bottom of it's called the roller coaster at this track. Throw it in the bottom of the roller coaster and you just hear the changeover of asphalt to concrete. And you're like, oh, I'm deep enough. It's like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's take a break.
Yeah.
Okay, what was it that you wanted to Drift Week.
I've done 2 Drift Weeks. Probably a good thing to talk about.
So what is that like?
Give us the behind the scenes. Like, what's the actual details because everyone, I feel like, over glorifies it on YouTube.
So one thing I will say about Drift Week is I want to say I heard you guys talking about it, about people like trailering their cars now, or like some people trailering cars.
That. I wouldn't probably drive my car.
Well, the thing is, like, when Drift Week 3 got announced, so I'm in NorCal, and Drift Week 3 got announced in the Pacific Northwest. So one of the tracks was the home track that I drive, which I call it my home track, but it's 6 hours away. But it's like such a good it's Drift Nirvana, dude. So it's like it's my home track because we'll go there multiple times a year, And it's a kart track, but it's just so much fun. And so that was one of them. And then Park was another track, which, like, I've always wanted to drive Park, and like you just see, where Chelsea, when he lived in Oregon still or whatever, like that was his track where he did all the School of Drift and whatever. Like Park is like another really sick track. And then Villains Sportsland, which is a mirrored Mahon layout. Yeah. So like, and they have this gnarly wall, and like people total their cars all the time. So I was like, definitely want to drive this track.
Yeah.
And then it was Evergreen. And dude, I saw a couple cars get straight written off when we were there. But so I was like, okay, 4 tracks, 1 I've driven, 3 I've always wanted to drive. Like, so I was like, okay, I'm going to try to sign up for Drift Week 3. And at the time, when I talked to Aaron on the phone, he's like, you got to drive your car. Like, there's no trailering. You can trailer to the first meetup point, which was Portland. And we met up at Wide Plate Imports. Yep. And so we trailered there. And then from there, we like left our trucks and trailers. If they helped you kind of find places to leave them, or like I ended up getting to keep my truck and trailer at Wide Plate for the whole 2 weeks that we were on the road. But yeah, you had to drive the car. There was no trailering it. Like the only time your car's on a trailer is if it was literally so badly broken that you were just like, I'm out.
Calling
I'm calling it. I gotta get out of here. So yeah, we all like street drove Portland to Walla Walla, Washington, which is where Villains is. And then from there, that was like a 9-10 hour drive. And then from there to Evergreen was like another 9-hour drive. And then from there to Medford was like a 12-hour drive. It was like a whole day of just driving, dude. And like and back to the coupe versus hatch thing. One of the reasons why I love the hatch is I've done 2 drift weeks and I've fit everything in the freaking hatch, dude. Like everything.
Yeah, you got me there.
You can't do that in a coupe.
Gotcha, bitch.
So
you got me there.
I'll
my radiator's in my trunk.
Yeah. So yeah, if you build your hatch for drift week, that's what you should do.
Maybe, yeah.
There we go.
Because like, dude, seriously.
So how many actual, not on track, how many actual miles is it? Does somebody have a thing that's like?
I mean, it's different based on like drift week 1 and 2. It was insane. Like there's a reason why only YouTubers and big name people did it, because like they were driving states away, like, you know, between track days, you know, and they
went across country. The first one didn't.
Yeah,
they
went
all
like,
the way. Now they do.
It was like Texas
sections.
to LA to Arizona to freaking like Illinois. I don't know. Like it was like super crazy distances, and it was actually pretty gnarly because they had to like finish a track day, clean up, and then start driving to the next state that night. But like when I did drift week, when we did number 3, he had it kind of planned out to where you were at the track for 2 days and then you got a travel day. The next day was a whole day of just travel. So you got to like take the entire day to drive to the next state or the next track or whatever. And so, yeah, 1 and 2 is gnarly because they were like, you just finished driving 2 days back to back and you just finished loading everything up, start driving to the next. Like, dude, you're driving overnight. Like, so I think Aaron realized like, okay, this is pretty gnarly for like the average, you know, kind of
the regular dude.
So with 3, when he kind of like was talking, when we were talking on the phone, he's like, yeah, so like, it'll be like this, you'll have time to like drive to the next track, blah, blah, blah. And then the other like ins and outs, I guess, is that there's so much logistics with what Aaron does to plan it, to where he has like trucks and enclosed trailers to carry, like he basically is like, hey, you can have a space for 1 tote, like one of those yellow black totes of spares, and then 4 wheels, and like we'll carry that stuff for you. So he carried 4 wheels for me, a tote, and then everything else is in your car, like all my other spare parts, like I don't know, like sleeping stuff, chairs, canopies, like spare parts, like just my luggage, my passenger's luggage. Like we were stuffed, like there's stuff falling from right here, like, you know, with a cage in the car and stuff. So like you're packed in there tight with like everything, you know? But yeah, it was just like, you show up to the first track day and you go from there to, you know, 2 days at one track. And then we just had Airbnbs, like for every town, we just rented a different Airbnb with a group. And it was cool. We got to like, some groups were like people that had never met each other and just became groups through the Facebook page that he made for everyone to meet each other. And then some of it was like me and my friends. There was like 5 of us from NorCal that got in for Drift Week 3. So we were like, okay, well, let's all just like get an Airbnb together and do the trip together type thing, you know?
What's it cost, do you think? All told. What could you do it for if you were like an average dude, you got a car that you know will make the ride?
Yeah. Or you
unless
have to
you
get
fuck it up. You're right. But if you could get approved, how much would it cost?
It would probably be roughly... The cheapest you could probably do, at least the 2 that I've done, the cheapest you could have done them was probably about $5,000 for the 2-week trip. And that's like probably having just enough tires to make it through each track, maybe like not getting to necessarily drive as much as you want, maybe, you know, if you spend a little bit more on more tires. Like I think I spent about $2,000 worth of tires for the first one. And I ended up coming home with like 6 brand new tires, or like 8 brand new tires. Like I didn't go through enough tires, you know? So I was like, okay, well,
so you probably spent too much.
Spent too much, you know?
Yeah.
And then the next one, I was like, okay, well, like I'll probably get less tires this time. I got less tires for the second one, and I still had leftover tires, you know? But then it's like, you just don't know how your trip's going to be, because Drift Week 3, pretty good for me. Like I got to drive a lot. I broke stuff here and there. Shout out to like random people in Washington who like let me come to their house and weld my subframe because I broke a tab off the subframe at Evergreen. Like, Tori, if you're watching this. But then like Drift Week, you know, some people like don't have any issues the whole time and you're just driving all the time, blowing through tires, like whatever, you know? And then like Drift Week 4, I ended up having a bunch of issues too, or you crash the car and you got to fix it. And like, you know, I ended up having like a gnarly crash with LZ at Grange, actually.
he might be on fire. Hey, he's smoking. I think he's okay. Do you have a fire extinguisher?
And that took me out for like the rest of that day. You know, it was like my second lap ever at Grange. So I did one lap with my team, and LZ was in the middle. It was like two of my teammates, LZ in that S13 JZ car that he has. And then my other teammate, and then me in the back. So we did that lap, and I was like, this is so sick, you know? And then the next lap, like my team all kind of pulls off because they'd already been on track for a while. And then it's just me and LZ, and he was like, hey, lead for me. And I was like, all right, second lap ever at Grange, you know? And I send it, like throw a nice entry and everything, get around like the first couple corners, and then there's like that back section, and I just watching the videos back, like I just hit it wrong. Like I was just like nervous. You got, you know, LZ's behind me. I'm trying to put a good lead line. I'm going wide, went too wide, dropped a tire, pulled my entire car like vertical, dude, and like slammed into the tire wall and stuff, and like surprisingly didn't really break anything, but like just alignment was all off. Had to like go back and like check the whole car over.
You got any footage of this?
I do.
Sick.
Dude, you want to put it
you're
up?
gonna have
very
to
much like to put
you're gonna
that
have to
up.
put just all your media in a Google Drive folder and send
I got
it to
you.
me.
Yeah, I got
that'd be
videos
sick
of
footage.
the team, and then stuff with LZ and just other. I had like Drift Week 3, dude. I had a lap with Chelsea chasing me in his Pennzoil Mustang at the time, and just like same thing, just so nervous. I'm like, don't fuck up in front of Chelsea, you know? And like, mind you, the like 2 days before I did fuck up in front of Chelsea, I did a money shift 1-2-1. Dude, like going down the straight, dude. First gear, just pinned, dude. Second gear, pinned. Go to grab third, put it back into first. Lift the clutch, dude. It's just wow. And I was like, oh my God. Just like throwing it in neutral. And Chelsea didn't rear end me. So shout out to Chelsea because he's actually good at avoiding crashes if he wants to. And
Damn good driver.
I've done it again with other people chasing, and I've money shifted and just got rear ended, you know? And I'm like, damn, my fault. But, you know. But yeah, man, it's like Drift Week in general is like the most amount of seat time with the most diverse amount of tracks that you could do in the smallest amount of time. And like that to me is just like, you can't trade that for anything else. It's one of one, you know, like to drive 4 different tracks that if you tried to go drive separately on separate occasions would cost you more than doing it all together with Drift Week, you know? But then you got the aspect of you're driving the car every day, you know, like so it's nerve wracking, dude, because you're just like, you want to send it, you want to just drive hard and whatever.
I gotta make sure I get to the next one.
I got to drive home, you know, I got to drive back to the Airbnb. I mean, dude, Drift Week 3, we did a trans swap in our Airbnb garage. My friend's IS300 blew his trans in the middle of the second day at Medford. So that night we're leaving, we got to check out of the Airbnb at 11 a.m. It's midnight and we're like starting a tranny swap in the garage of this Airbnb. And we're just, he carried a spare trans in the trunk of his IS the whole trip because he just knew his trans was going to blow. Sure enough, third track blows the trans, bro. So then we were like doing this trans swap. Dude, yeah, it was, so it's like, you just got memories that you can't get anywhere else, you know, like just doing that kind of stuff. We had this one Airbnb, had a 2-car garage, hot tub in the middle. So you're just like chilling in the middle of this garage. People are working on cars. You're chilling in the hot tub. Like it's just like vibes that you just don't get, you know?
So one piece of advice to anyone getting into drifting.
All right. I've been thinking about this before I came because
I'm glad. Like that's a,
everybody else
knows
is like,
about
oh, that's a hard one. I'm like, all right, so you don't watch.
Yeah. I've watched
fine.
every episode, and it's just, you know, like I said, this podcast helps support and promote drifting, and like that's what I'm about. So shout out to you guys.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Hell yeah. That.
So
Really?
best advice I can give, and this is advice that I've literally given to somebody, a beginner. They didn't take the advice. And then within the next weekend, it came to fruition of why I gave them this advice. So no names or anything. They probably aren't watching this, but a lot of dudes are getting into drifting, and they'll maybe buy a seat time car like a Z, you know, but then they go, okay, now I need a $2,000 FDF front angle kit. I need the $2,000 rear fucking squat grip kit. I need this crazy setup, this crazy setup, this. And I'm like, bro, here's a piece of advice. A Z or an S-Chat, like I still run just cut knuckles, stock control arms, and stock tie rods. Like I don't run any fancy angle kit and all that.
I have S14 inner.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah, inners and outers,
same kit,
and then just a modded knuckle and like super basic BC coils, and like that's it. And
I don't even have that.
So I'm a big BC guy. One day BC, if you're watching this, please. So I told this kid, I was like, look, man, like you got this fancy angle kit. His other homie was wanting to buy the same angle kit, and they're just getting into drifting. And I was like, guys, buy a cheap angle kit. GK Tech makes a bolt-on, $200 bolt-on. It's plenty of angle. You're just learning, you know? And they go, well, this kit's so good. I'm like, look, FDF is amazing. I have nothing against FDF.
You don't need it.
But you don't need it. And here's the main reason. It's not that just like it's too much angle for your skill level. Like that's part of it. But here's the thing. This is the advice I told him. And then it happened the next day. This was the night before he was going to a skid pad event. So the next day he ends up crashing into the wall, breaks the entire angle kit. He's out $2,000 in an angle kit. And that's the advice I gave him was, dude, if you have a cheap $200 angle kit and you crash the car, which you inevitably will. You didn't
spend the time learning how to drive the car.
Exactly. And then so you crash and now you've broken this really expensive angle kit or whatever expensive parts you have on your car. You're breaking these parts where you could have cheaped out and gotten back on track faster, you know? Like, dude, I bent a control arm at Drift Week and I have spare control arms. They're stock. I just carry a bunch of them, you know, like you bend one, you throw another one on, you're back on track. You bend a FDF control arm, like you're not finding that just anywhere, you know, you got to order a replacement or you got to have a backup, you know? So for beginners, it's like.
Mine are extended. Mine aren't totally stock.
Yeah. I did run extendeds for a while too. I just recently went back to stock length.
Did you like it better or less?
Here's like, if we want to get into the geometry of it, like I'm pretty big on like angle stuff. So the extendeds are good because they give you a lot of clearance for the wheel. And like when you run 18s, especially.
Yeah.
But what they do is give you like almost too much camber because like the bottom's so extended and whatnot. Whereas if you run a stock length arm, and then you run like more spacers, it gets you more track width. And so your scrub radius is better than when you just kick the bottom of the wheels out with an extended arm. So the way the car drives, just like you get better self-steer, you get just kind of better caster steer with the car when it's stock length arms, and you run more spacers to just push the wheels out. But the problem with that is I just switched to that. The problem though is I'm still running 18s and they're too wide, you know? Yeah, so you want to run a 17x9, kind of smaller. Like this is how the dudes in Japan run. They run a cut knuckle, stock length arm, and then a shit ton of spacers. And when I say shit ton, like I'm talking at least a 50 mil spacer to get you into like super negative offset, because it gives you the clearance and the scrub radius, and the car feels incredible. Like I can sit my car at full lock and I don't get binding. I don't get like weird wheel like wobbling. Yeah,
I didn't get that at first when I first put it together, but the last event, that's what ended up causing me to crash into cash.
Yep. And so like, dude, my car does not do that. And like, and I'm just like, for me, I'm also the type of person that's like, if it works, then I'm not going to change it. So like, you know, I've looked at, full GK Tech, like you get the control arms plus this and this,
that's what I
whatever.
have, super lock right now.
Yeah. And it's all great stuff. Like nothing against any of those dudes with like the nicer kits or the companies that make them. It's just like, especially when you're first getting into drifting, buy the stuff that you could replace for cheap. Like if you spend all your money on this crazy kit and then you crash it, which you will.
Don't even buy the cheap kit. Take the fucking bump stops out and let her eat.
For a Z, I agree.
Literally,
put some fucking spacers on it and let it rip.
Exactly. So,
and also cheat code for the rear arms. Don't buy the full rear kit. All you need is the toe arm, which is the bucket delete. So you have to have true rear coilovers. And then the camber arm. You can get whatever adjustment settings you want out of the rear in a Z.
That's it, man. I feel like that's the best advice I can give, because
keep it simple.
Keep it simple, because like at the end of the day, it all comes down to how much seat time you get and how much time you get to be on the track. And the less the car is braking and the easier it is to fix it when it does break, it just literally equals more seat time, you know? And like people just get into drifting and they'll drift like 2 events in a year. And I'm like, you're not into drifting, man. Yeah, you've gone drifting, but you're not into drifting. You know, like
you're a partial hobbyist.
yeah, it's a partial hobby. This is my entire life, bro. Like,
fuck yeah. Well, cool, man. I really do appreciate it coming on. Go ahead and plug your people, plug yourself.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we have a team called Drift Team Anti-Heroes. You can find us on Instagram. We have merch for sale. We just kind of try to go and hit as much events as we can. And then I have a personal YouTube channel. It's Behrad Says. So if you guys want to follow YouTube, I pretty much just try to post the whole journey of building the car, all the swaps I've done, all the events I go to, like other cars that we work on at the house. Like we kind of have like a cool house where we have a little bit of property. So people come over and work on their cars in my house. And like, you know, it's just kind of nice to like get that kind of content. So check out the YouTube channel.
Link in the description.
Thank you. Yeah. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for letting me come on.
For sure. Absolutely. Came a long way.
Yeah. There's probably, you think I'm the furthest traveled guest, maybe?
Yeah. By a long slide.
Yeah. California, man. Yeah.
Landslide.
Landslide. By landslide. Yeah.
I think David was the farthest so far, and he was just in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wasn't he in Colorado before? Did he move out to East Coast too?
No, he's from Oregon.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, you guys got to make it out to NorCal at some point. We
maybe.
Yeah.
We're planning on coming out to shoot with Literal because he lives out in
he's in SoCal.
Yeah. So I'd probably like to go out there and see him. But we need to line some that's one of the things.
We need your guys' help, motherfuckers.
Yeah, man. We need
buy the merch, baby.
Hit subscribe, buy the merch.
Yeah, do all the shit.
Yeah.
If you want better podcasts with better people, you got to support.
Yeah, if you want better people than me and all the other losers that have been on the podcast, support the podcast.
Yeah.
Content's free, but it ain't cheap for us.
Call it there.
So, all right. Well, that's it for this one. Appreciate it. See you guys next week. Peace.
All right,
we just ended the podcast, but he forgot to do this.
I wanted to give these guys some merch, so I had to pack these in my suitcase and almost hit the overweight mark.
Really?
So, no, I'm probably not. Oh, okay.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Here's some hoodies. This is what they look like if you don't want to open them up, but this is the team.
Dude, that's fucking sick. Look.
It's all of our cars.
Tight.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Grab the merch.